Step out of a Porsche 911 GT3 after 20 hard laps at Laguna Seca. Your hands are tingling from the steering wheel feedback. Your ears are ringing from that flat six screaming at 9,000 RPM. Your heart is still racing, not from fear, but from pure connection. You just had a conversation with a machine, and it spoke back through every gear change, every brake point, every tiny weight transfer through the corkscrew. You climb into a Taycan Turbo S, Porsche's electric flagship. You launch from 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. The acceleration pins you to the seat so hard you can barely breathe. And yet something is missing. There's no buildup, no drama, no mechanical symphony, just instant, silent violence. And after 3 hot laps, the car starts pulling power to protect its battery. Your track day is basically over. Here's what Porsche won't tell you in their marketing. They've spent over $1 billion developing electric sports cars that fundamentally contradict everything that made Porsche, well, Porsche. And the numbers prove it. For 75 years, Porsche meant one thing above all else: the perfect balance of lightweight engineering and mechanical precision. Ferry Porsche himself said adding weight was like adding power to your competitors' cars. Every gram mattered. Every component had to earn its place. This obsession created the 911, a car so perfectly balanced that its engine sits behind the rear axle, defying conventional wisdom but delivering unmatched driver feedback. The 1973 Carrera S, arguably the purest 911 ever made, weighed 2,150 pounds. That's less than a Honda Civic from the 90s. It had 210 horsepower and could run flat out all day long. The 2024 Taycan Turbo S, 5,100 pounds. That's heavier than a Ford F-150. You're hauling around an extra 3,000 pounds of battery, cooling systems, and electronic controls. That's literally like driving your sports car with a whole Toyota Corolla strapped to the roof. Here's where physics becomes Porsche's enemy. Gasoline packs 12,000 watt-hours of energy per kilogram. The best lithium-ion batteries today, 270 watt-hours per kilogram. By the time you build a complete battery pack with cooling, structure, and safety systems, you're looking at even less. To get enough energy for serious track use, you need a 97 to 105 kilowatt-hour pack in the Taycan. That battery alone weighs more than an entire air-cooled 911. Porsche's engineers are brilliant. They've used every trick possible to make this weight disappear. 800-volt architecture for faster charging and lighter cables. 2-speed rear transmission for better acceleration and efficiency. Torque vectoring to mask the mass in corners. 4-wheel steering to improve agility. But you can't engineer away physics. That weight is there every millisecond, fighting against every input you make. It's like trying to make a sumo wrestler into a ballerina. You can teach them the moves, but they're never going to be graceful. The company's own CEO, Oliver Bloom, admitted something remarkable in 2023. He said the 911's basic architecture doesn't allow a fully electric car. Porsche looked at their most important car, the one that defines the brand, and said electricity doesn't work here. Not because they're nostalgic, but because the math doesn't add up. You cannot put a 1,000-pound battery where a 250-pound flat six lives and expect the car to handle the same way. That's like replacing your heart with a refrigerator and expecting to run a marathon. So they're keeping the 911 as their last combustion car, maybe forever. They're developing synthetic fuels in Chile at their Haru Oni plant, investing $75 million to keep gasoline alive for this one model. The European Union even created a special exemption for synthetic fuel cars after 2035, largely because Germany, and especially Porsche, pushed for it. When a company spends that kind of money and political capital to avoid electrifying their flagship, maybe we should listen to what they're really saying. Sound isn't just noise in a Porsche, it's communication. A flat-six engine speaks a language no electric motor can replicate. The firing order 1, 6, 2, 4, 3, 5 creates harmonics that resonate at specific frequencies. At idle, it's a mechanical purr. At 4,000 RPM, it transforms into a metallic wail. At 8,000 RPM, heading toward 9, it becomes something almost alive, a shriek that triggers primal responses in your brain. This isn't poetry, it's engineering. That sound tells you exactly what the engine is doing without looking at any gauge. You hear valve flow approaching. You feel through sound when the oil is getting hot. You know precisely when to shift, not because a light tells you, but because the engine's tone changes. It's a feedback loop that creates trust between human and machine. It's like the difference between talking to someone face-to-face versus texting. One has nuance, emotion, and instant understanding. The other is just information transfer. The Taycan makes noise too, through speakers. Porsche calls it electric sport sound. It's a synthesized whir that changes with speed, carefully designed by acoustic engineers to sound futuristic and sporty. But your brain knows it's fake. It's like the difference between a real fireplace and a video of fire on a TV screen. One warms your soul, the other just reminds you what you're missing. It's the automotive equivalent of a laugh track on a sitcom. Everyone knows it's not real, and it makes the whole experience feel artificial. Here's something Porsche discovered during Taycan development. They tested the car with no artificial sound at all, just the natural whine of the motors and inverters. Test drivers consistently underestimated their speed by 20 to 30%. Without engine noise, your brain lacks a critical reference point. So they had to add fake sound just to make the car feel normal. That's not enhancement, that's compensation for a fundamental flaw. It's like needing subtitles for a movie filmed in your own language because the audio is so bad. The silence problem goes deeper than just driver feedback. Porsche ownership has always been about sharing the experience. You fire up your 911 in the garage, and your neighbor knows you're heading out for a Sunday drive. You downshift approaching a tunnel, and everyone turns to look. You rev match a perfect heel-toe downshift, and other enthusiasts nod in appreciation. The Taycan, you might as well be driving a really expensive dishwasher. It makes the same sound as every other electric car, which is basically nothing. In 2022, a prototype Taycan set a 7-minute 7-second lap time at the Nürburgring. Porsche's marketing department went crazy. Fastest electric sedan ever, they shouted. Tesla beaten. Future of performance proven. What they didn't mention was what happened next. After that one heroic lap, the battery was heat-soaked. Power was limited. The car needed 45 minutes of cooling and charging before it could run hard again. That's like a basketball player who can dunk once, then needs to sit out the rest of the game. Meanwhile, a basic 911 Carrera S, not even a GT3, can run 20-minute sessions all day long. Stop for 5 minutes, add 15 gallons of fuel, and you're back out for another 20 minutes at 10/10. That's 8 to 10 hard sessions in a single track day. The Taycan, you get 1, maybe 2 sessions before the battery either overheats or depletes. Then you're sitting at a charger, if the track even has one, for at least 30 minutes between runs. Your $1,000 track day becomes $500 of driving and $500 of sitting in the paddock checking Instagram. The latest Taycan Turbo GT with the Visa package is even faster. 1 minute 27 seconds at Laguna Seca. Incredible. But ask any owner what happens on lap 4, 5, or 6. The battery management system starts pulling power to prevent damage. Your 2.4 second 0 to 60 becomes 3.5, then 4.5. Your top speed drops from 160 to 120. It's not broken, it's protecting itself. But protection and performance are opposite goals. It's like having a Ferrari that turns into a Prius after 10 minutes. Let's talk about charging at the track. Porsche claims 18 minutes from 10 to 80% charge with their latest 800-volt technology. That's true if you find a 320 kilowatt 800-volt charger. Most American racetracks don't have any chargers at all. Road America, no fast chargers. Sebring, good luck. Watkins Glen, hope you brought a really long extension cord. Virginia International Raceway, one of the best tracks on the East Coast, has exactly 2 level 2 chargers. That's 11 kilowatts, not 320. At that rate, you're charging for 4 hours to get back what you burned in 20 minutes. Even when fast chargers exist, there's another problem nobody talks about. A heat-soaked battery from hard driving won't accept minimum charge rates. The cells need to cool down first. So that 18-minute charge becomes 30, then 45. Your track day isn't about driving anymore. It's about managing battery temperature and charge schedules. It's like going to a steakhouse and spending most of your time waiting for the grill to cool down between bites. Who buys a $185,000 Taycan Turbo S? Not someone worried about gas prices. These buyers already own multiple cars. They have a Range Rover for winter, a Mercedes S-Class for comfort, probably a Tesla Model S Plaid for their daily commute. The Porsche is supposed to be special, the weekend toy, the track weapon, the pure driving machine. It's the automotive equivalent of a Rolex. You don't buy it because you need to know the time. But electric Porsches solve problems these buyers don't have. They don't need to save money on gas when they burn through $20,000 sets of carbon ceramic brakes for fun. They don't care about emissions during their 3,000 miles per year of spirited driving. They care about the experience, the connection, the ability to push the car to its limits repeatedly. The Taycan offers none of that. It's like buying a Steinway piano that only plays MP3s. Here's what's really happening. The Taycan is an amazing electric car, but it's a terrible Porsche. It weighs too much for the track. It can't run multiple sessions without overheating. It depends on infrastructure that doesn't exist where Porsche drivers actually drive. It's a compromise pretending to be a solution. It's like calling a veggie burger a steak because you shaped it the same way. The depreciation data makes this even worse. According to iSeeCar's latest study, electric vehicles lose 58.8% of their value in 5 years, compared to 45.6% for gas cars. The Taycan does better than most EVs, but it still drops faster than any 911. A 2019 Taycan Turbo that cost $150,000 new is worth maybe $70,000 a day. A 2019 911 Turbo that cost the same, still worth $120,000 or more. That's $50,000 disappearing because you chose batteries over pistons. Why does this matter? Because Porsche ownership has always been about buying a car you can keep forever. A 1990 911 is worth more today than it cost new. A 1973 Carrera RS that sold for $10,000 is now worth $500,000. These cars appreciate because they're mechanical art, not rolling computers. What's a 2024 Taycan worth in 2054 when its battery is degraded and its software is obsolete? Nobody knows. But if smartphone history teaches us anything, it won't be pretty. The service situation makes everything worse. Your local Porsche specialist who's been working on 911s for 30 years can't touch a Taycan. It requires special tools, special training, and constant software updates from Porsche headquarters. When something breaks, you can't diagnose it yourself. You can't fix it yourself. You're completely dependent on Porsche's infrastructure and their willingness to support old electric models. It's like owning a classic car that only runs on Windows 95. We've seen this movie before with other brands. BMW i3 owners are already struggling to find parts and service. Early Tesla Model S owners deal with failing door handles and screens that cost thousands to replace. These cars are less than 10 years old. What happens at 20 years? 30? A 1970s 911 can still be serviced by any competent mechanic with basic tools. A Taycan will be electronic waste. It's the difference between owning a vintage watch you can pass to your kids and owning last year's iPhone. J.D. Power's latest study on EV charging is brutal. 20% of public charging attempts in America fail. Not slow, not inconvenient, complete failure. The charger is broken, the payment system is down, the connector won't lock, or the session just randomly stops. 1 in 5 times, you don't get any charge at all. That's like if 1 out of every 5 gas pumps just didn't work, and nobody seemed to care. Porsche knows this. That's why they're adopting Tesla's charging standard in 2025, giving Taycan owners access to superchargers. Smart move. Except Tesla's superchargers aren't built for repeated track sessions. They're built for road trips and daily charging. They're located at Targets and Whole Foods, not racetracks. And even Tesla's network shows reduced charging speeds when multiple cars are charging or when the battery is hot from performance driving. Home charging works great if you're using your Taycan as a daily driver. Plug it in at night, wake up to a full battery. But that's not how Porsche owners use their sports cars. They take them out on perfect Sunday mornings for canyon runs. They trailer them to track events hundreds of miles from home. They do 1,000-mile road trips through places where the only infrastructure is a gas station that hasn't been updated since Reagan was president. The math gets worse when you factor in cold weather. Battery capacity drops 20 to 40% in winter. That 300-mile range becomes 200. Fast charging slows down. The car uses battery power just to keep itself warm. A 911 in winter just needs winter tires. A Taycan needs a completely different driving strategy, constantly calculating whether you can make it to the next charger with enough reserve for unexpected delays. It's like your car suddenly getting asthma every time the temperature drops below 40. Real Taycan owners on forums tell the same stories. Amazing car around town. Nightmare on road trips. One owner documented his drive from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. What should be a 4-hour cruise became 7 hours with charging stops. Not because chargers weren't available, but because they were occupied, broken, or slower than advertised. His 911 makes the same trip in 3.5 hours, including 1 gas stop. That's 3.5 extra hours of your life gone because you chose electrons over gasoline. Porsche isn't giving up on environmental responsibility. They're just being realistic about physics. Their Haru Oni plant in Chile is producing synthetic fuel from wind power, water, and captured CO2. It's carbon neutral, works in any gasoline engine, and requires 0 changes to existing infrastructure. Every gas station becomes a green fuel station. Every 911 ever made becomes carbon neutral overnight. It's like making your classic car green without changing anything about it. Yes, e-fuels are expensive right now, about $40 per gallon in small quantities, but Porsche is scaling production to millions of gallons by 2027. The price will drop, and even at $40 per gallon, it's cheaper than destroying the character of their cars. Remember, Porsche buyers aren't choosing between a Taycan and a Camry. They're choosing between a real 911 and an electric compromise. These are people who pay $8 for coffee. They'll pay extra for synthetic fuel if it means keeping the soul of their car alive. The efficiency argument against e-fuels misses the point. Of course it takes more energy to make synthetic fuel than to charge a battery. But Porsche sports cars represent 0.01% of global vehicle emissions. Making them all electric saves essentially nothing. It's like banning birthday candles to fight global warming. The gesture might feel good, but the impact is meaningless. Keeping them authentic while using carbon-neutral fuel preserves both the environment and the driving experience. The European Union agrees. Their 2035 combustion ban specifically excludes cars that run exclusively on e-fuels. Germany fought hard for this exemption, with Porsche leading the lobbying effort. They didn't do this for fun. They did it because they understand that some vehicles, particularly low-volume sports cars, make more sense with liquid fuel than batteries. It's acknowledgement that one size doesn't fit all, even in environmental policy. Porsche's actions speak louder than their marketing. They've quietly walked back their goal of 80% electric sales by 2030. They've delayed the electric 718 Boxster and Cayman until at least 2027. They're putting hybrid systems in the new 911 instead of going full electric. Every decision points to the same conclusion. Electric doesn't work for real sports cars. Look at their racing program. The 963 that wins at Le Mans, hybrid, not electric. The new GT3 race car still uses a naturally aspirated flat six. Formula E, Porsche pulled out after just 4 seasons. When winning matters more than marketing, Porsche chooses combustion every single time. Racing is where manufacturers test tomorrow's technology. If electric was really the future of performance, that's where you'd see it dominating. Instead, it's a sideshow that even Porsche gave up on. The company's own engineers admit this in technical papers. Battery weight affects unsprung mass, making suspension tuning nearly impossible. Regenerative braking interferes with brake feel, destroying the precise feedback Porsche is famous for. The low center of gravity from floor-mounted batteries sounds good until you realize it eliminates suspension travel and makes the car harsh over real roads. It's like lowering your car so much it can't go over speed bumps. Sure, it looks cool, but it's useless in the real world. Here's the truth nobody wants to acknowledge. The Taycan exists because regulations require it. California and Europe are banning gas car sales. Porsche needs electric vehicles to meet fleet emission standards. The Taycan allows them to keep selling 911s. It's not a replacement, it's a regulatory hedge. A brilliant one, but still a compromise born from legislation, not engineering ideals. It's the automotive equivalent of eating your vegetables so you can have dessert. The perfect Porsche driving experience requires 3 things. First, immediate mechanical feedback through every control surface. Second, the ability to use 10/10ths of the car's performance repeatedly without degradation. Third, lightweight that makes the car dance rather than lumber through corners. Electric powertrains fail all 3 requirements. Not because the technology is immature, but because batteries are heavy. Heat management limits repeated performance, and electronic controls isolate the driver from the road. So here we are, at the crossroads of tradition and regulation, passion and politics, physics and fantasy. Porsche claims electric is the future, but their investment in synthetic fuels, their protection of the 911 from electrification, and their quiet admissions about battery limitations tell a different story. The Taycan is fast, incredibly fast. It handles well for something that weighs as much as a large SUV. The build quality is exceptional. The technology is impressive, but impressive isn't the same as right. A microwave is impressive technology, but nobody's giving up their barbecue grill for it. Speed isn't everything. Weight isn't just a number, and silence isn't golden when you're trying to connect with a machine. The future Porsche is selling isn't wrong. It's just not Porsche. It's a future designed by regulators, not racers. A future where cars are appliances, not companions. A future where efficiency matters more than emotion. And that future might work for Toyota or Volkswagen or even Mercedes, but it will never work for a company that built its reputation on the idea that driving should make you feel alive. Electric Porsches will never make sense because Porsche was never about making sense. It was about putting engines in the wrong place and making them work brilliantly. It was about choosing air cooling when everyone else used water. It was about keeping manual transmissions when the world went automatic. It was about being defiantly, gloriously, impossibly different. You can't be different when every electric motor delivers the same instant torque. You can't be lightweight when batteries weigh half a ton. You can't be engaging when software manages every input. And you can't be a Porsche when you sound like a Tesla, charge like a Nissan, and weigh like a Chevrolet Suburban. That's why Porsche is protecting the 911. That's why they're investing in synthetic fuels. That's why they're hedging their electric bets. Because somewhere in Stuttgart, someone remembers what Porsche really means. And it has nothing to do with batteries.